Hey guys, wagwan wagwan, what's good? It's your girl Shanice and I'm so happy to welcome you guys back to Jamaican Cuisine. If you're new, welcome and thank you so much for watching. As you can see in this video, I'll be showing you guys how to make a very quick, easy, juicy, delicious pan-seared steak. Before we get into the video guys, please remember to hit that subscribe button and the bell so you don't miss out on any of these amazing recipes. Okay guys, so the very first thing you want to do is take your meat out around 20 to 30 minutes prior to cooking it. You want to ensure that it's at room temperature before cooking it. Cooking a cold piece of steak like that will definitely affect the internal temperature that you're going for. Now, you guys know your girl's always washing her poultry, fish, all that before cooking it. However, in this case, I'm really not going to do that much to my steaks because it's a very delicate piece of meat. And unlike fish and chicken, it's not as raw. If it's a case where I inspected the steak and I feel I need to wash it or whatever, I just use a little bit of vinegar with water, but you don't want to soak it because the vinegar will definitely break down the fiber of the meat. So you just want to wash it real quick and then pat it dry. So as you guys saw, I added around a teaspoon of oil to each pieces of steak, and this is just to allow the meat to absorb the seasonings better. I also added a teaspoon of kosher salt to both sides. Kosher salt only because the crystals are bigger than regular sea salt, so the meat will definitely absorb it better. I also went in with a teaspoon of black pepper on each side, followed by a teaspoon of garlic powder on each side. And guys, a great tip, you want to add a generous amount of seasonings to your steak because the moment you start cooking it, you will lose up to 30% of that seasoning and flavor. So don't be afraid to add the seasoning. I would normally use more salt to season. However, the butter that I'll be using to baste my steak is not unsalted butter, so I'm just keeping that in mind. I don't want it to be too salty. And guys, you want to make sure that you pat the seasonings in. You want to make sure that you get the sides of the steak. And if you're up to it, you can let it sit and marinate for up to 40 minutes or so. However, I'm going to go ahead and cook mine right away. This is a piece of beef ribeye that I'm working with, but this recipe is perfect for whatever cut of beef you're using. So I'm going in with around a teaspoon of oil. You want to make sure that your flame is on medium high. We want this to get nice and hot. This is how we're going to get that beautiful sear we're looking for. Okay guys, now to the fun part. You want to gently add your steaks away from you. You don't want the oil to splash because it's very hot. And I'm also gonna add some garlic. So what I did was I just cut the head off the whole garlic, and that's what I'm gonna put in. But you can use a few cloves if you prefer. This is how I like to do mine. And it's just gonna give it a wonderful flavor. I'm also gonna add some thyme. Guys, I recommend using fresh thyme over dried thyme. I ran out, so I'm just using what I have. So go ahead and add 3-4 stalks of fresh thyme, and this is gonna be everything. The garlic, the thyme, everything. I wish you guys could smell this right now. Okay guys, so I'm gonna let my steak sit for around 5 minutes on this side, and the temperature that I'm going for is medium well. I say medium well and not well done because I don't want it to be too dried out. It's gonna have a hint of pale pink when I cut it and a little bit of juiciness, but absolutely no blood, and that's what I'm going for. This is how we want it to be, golden brown with a slightly charred look. This is just so beautiful, guys. I know a lot more people prefer their steaks done at medium rare. If that's the case, you would cook it for around 6 to 8 minutes in total. And guys, you can use the thong to hold your steaks down on the side just so that it gets a nice color. And if it has like a nice piece of fat, you want to render the fat for around a minute or so. Okay, so after the first 4 or 5 minutes on the first side, I flipped it. Now I'm going to allow it to cook for an additional 4 minutes so that the other side gets a nice golden color. Okay guys, within the second minute of searing that side, I went in with around 2.5 tablespoons of butter. I like to use a lot of butter here, and I'm gonna start basting my steak. This is just gonna ensure that it's also juicy and flavorful. So that's what we're doing right now. Guys, you just want to baste and baste and baste until your hand gets tired. Listen, this is just going to ensure that the flavor is there and that we have a very moist and juicy surface. Y'all hear that sizzling? Listen, you don't have to be intimidated by cooking some steak. Just follow this recipe, very simple and straight to the point. And guys, if you want to check the temperature for this medium well, the internal temperature should be around 150 degrees Fahrenheit. If you're using the touch method, it should feel like the top of your wrist. Now I'm just taking out my steak and I'm going to allow them to rest. I'm going to cover them slightly. And this is very important because it's going to allow the juices to reabsorb. So this is how we're looking after 10 minutes of resting. As you can see, the juices are just sitting on top, and this is looking and smelling oh so delicious. And as you can see, this was a very simple recipe. We really did not do much. We just let the seasonings and the pan do their thing. So you can go ahead and cut up your steak if you prefer before serving it. And as I mentioned before, it should have a slightly pink color if you went for the medium well, as I did. But I really hope you guys enjoy this video. If you did, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Until next time.